Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for August 9th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here today to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 26 live feeds. It was day 24 in the house. We had an eviction. We had an HOH competition. We have plans for nominations. We have new alliances forming. And through it all is myself and my co-host here, Pooya. How you doing, Pooya?
I'm doing really, really well. I think we had a fun 24 hours on our hands. The season is delivering. The drama's there. I'm feeling, 10 out of 10 right now.
There you go. 10 out of 10. All right. Well, let's talk about it then, because there wasn't too much going on before the eviction. A little bit more discussion about the various groups coming together that have been talked about, mostly with Tucker, because it's just kind of like Tucker was probably going to leave, but also still trying to make alliances and groups. And because he's good at competitions, he must be sort of like talked to. so so there's some of that, but ultimately we got to Kenny's eviction, and he is now gone on his way home. We just talked to him this morning. Um and and he's on his way home. That is, he's gonna get there. So check that out if you want to hear from Kenny. But the feeds did come back before the HOH competition. Now, this is a weird situation where Quinn is basically already the HOH, and the HOH competition right now is mostly just immunity. But we do have this brief period of time in between where it's like, well, who's going to win the immunity is kind of the thing. And so that's they're still, and also I think primarily like, oh, Tucker's still here. Some of us thought that maybe he wasn't going to be here. So now what do we do with Tucker?
Yeah, this was a very fun, because typically the pre-HOH feeds are not, we're excited the feeds are back home, but they're not quite delivering. I felt like this was a very fun one to see because of the impending, well, everyone knows that Quinn's going to be the HOH. And it was fun to see how many people were hoping that Tucker would just win it so that he has safety, including Tucker. I liked the conversation he had with Joseph, where Joseph's like, all right, man, now it's time for you to move back into the shadows. He's like, yeah, but I need to win HOH this week. If I win it, he can't put me up. And I was like, that's very true. I'm happy that he's thought of that. And it was fun to see that. We also did see an alliance kind of put their hands in together before the HOH, Taran.
Yes, that happened pretty quickly, because I think mostly because it had been talked about previously. But yeah, so they get to it. Joseph, who had been working Tucker until Tucker blew up, is still gonna pretend like he's with Tucker now that Tucker's still here. Like celebrates with Tucker. Hey, you did it, you did it. Like, hey, now the plan needs to be that you need to lie low a little bit, like trying to pretend like he's still totally locked in with Tucker. Um, in the meantime, though, Tucker could definitely tell. I don't know if I mentioned this on my stream last night when we were watching the episode, that when Julie announces Tucker won the AI arena, people are, oh,
It wasn't as loud as the other
yay!
ones.
Oh, yay! As opposed to like the jubilant cheers of the previous two. And I was like, wow, it's palpable how fake this is in comparison to the previous ones. And that is something that Tucker noticed. Especially because he was the one who won the previous one and experienced the jubilant. And this time he felt like it was not the same. And in particular, he felt like Cam was the worst at faking it. So he's a bit suspicious of Cam.
Yeah, it was very interesting because he names Cam. He then brings up that Cam is close to Chelsea, and then also adds on to that, and Brooklyn also. I don't feel like was really feeling that. It's hilarious because I think he's very on point. I felt watching the live broadcast that The energy's not there like it was the last 2 weeks. We had the chemo pop off, and then the Tucker beating Lisa was a huge one. This one, they were kind of like, oh, we were gonna backdoor you, or not backdoor you, but vote you out anyway. You're safe now. Woo! Yay! So he caught on to it. Credit to him. He caught on to it.
Yes, he's also upset with Quinn for calling him so many different names.
700 names. Low key, if someone called me what was it, a McDorkatron, I would feel more embarrassed for them than me. I'd be like, that was your best. Come on, man, like, you can do better than that. Unless was it a reference to something? I know he sandwiched a lot of references. I don't know if that's a Quinn original
I
or
feel like it was a reference, but I don't know exactly what it was referencing, but it feels like a familiar reference to me.
yeah. I saw mentions of holes. I saw mentions of SpongeBob. Not seen holes in a minute, and not ever watched SpongeBob. So, whoosh over my head.
There you go. But yeah, Tucker was kind of upset about it. Listen, I think if we're kind of like doing insults Olympics, I'm not sure that it really makes the podium in terms of like actually hurtful things. Like if we're saying like we're going brat, we're going twit. I don't think McDorkatron really lands there all the way. Maybe with all the other stuff combined, I'm not sure, but
Like
uh,
it's more goofy than it is insulting, which is funny that Tucker has chosen to take insult to it. Like
it's
it's supposed to be very like lighthearted and tongue in cheek from Quinn, which I fully got, but Tucker took it big offense.
especially coming from Tucker, who has
Oh my
been
god.
probably the heaviest insulter, like, much heavier than Angela. Like, Angela's going brat and twit, but Tucker's going full on, kinda like big man energy of like, "Oh, well, you're being such a little about things, you little boy." Like, for Tucker to be like, "He called me a McDorkatron," is, like, alright.
Yeah. He threw out a mother effer in there. Like he called Cedric every name under the sun. But he is staying authentic to his preseason. He's been the bully, and he has been bullied. It goes both ways.
It goes both ways. Alright, well, uh as you mentioned, Puya, there was an alliance that quickly put their hands in together, and it's Tucker, Tikor, Chemo, Rubina, and Brooklyn.
Mhm.
This is the group that had been kind of talked about before that did not include MJ. There's a little bit of weirdness here because basically, like, this is kind of the group that Rubina wanted, but then Tucker was talking to MJ, and then MJ wanted a different group that didn't include Rubina. And then Rubina heard about that group because Chelsea was in that group. And so Rubina's been a little suspicious about like, why isn't he telling me about that group? And so they finally lock in this group, the Rubina group, and they put their hands in. And Tucker suggests the name 5 Points. Something about like there's in Brooklyn, there's something that's 5 points. I don't remember exactly what he said. But 5 points, they put their hands in. This is Tucker's newest core alliance. Himself, T-Core, Chemo, Rubina, Brooklyn.
Which is a very interesting mix of people because these are people from different pockets of the house, especially with Brooklyn being someone who is in the Pentagon. It only felt like a matter of time before she gives this information up to somebody at the very least. And then on the other hand, you have Chemo and T-Core and the Visionaries with Quinn, and whether or not they're going to say it to Quinn, turns out they might not, Taran.
Yes. Well, Tucker tells Tikor and Chemo that he's going to get into a group with maybe MJ and Chelsea to get info from them, but that's only because he doesn't really trust them, especially Chelsea because of this Cam stuff. Because she's close with Cam, he doesn't really trust Chelsea, but they're his real core group, Tikor and Chemo, and he's just with MJ and Chelsea to get info. Is basically what Tucker is saying. Tikor and Kimo, they talk about this afterward. They're like, okay, like, how do we feel about this? Well, it's not that bad. I mean, it's got a bunch of people we like in it. The only people that we like that aren't in it are basically Quinn and Chelsea. We want to keep Quinn and Chelsea safe. Obviously, Tucker is kind of looking at both of them right now, so that's not great. And they don't generally, especially T-Core, feel great about Tucker in general. That T-Core's like, he will need to go at some point if we have an opportunity to take him out, because if we want to, we are going to need to get rid of him if we want to win this game. It's like, it's good that he's keeping us safe for now because he's winning a bunch of comps, but like, he's not reliable. Like, he'll keep us safe until he doesn't keep us safe. And so then they discuss, who should we tell about this alliance? Should we tell Chelsea? Should we tell Quinn? And the conclusion that they come to, in the short term at least, is let's just keep it to ourselves for now, which is a wild call to me because they know that Brooklyn is in this. They know that Brooklyn is in a 5-person alliance called the Pentagon with Quinn and Chelsea. They also know, for the record, that Tucker is in this alliance.
Yeah. Like, this is a alliance built to be leaked. Literally built to be leaked. Someone's going to find out about this at some point. I would think you'd want to get ahead of it. But also, I can't quite blame them either, because our boy Quinn has had a tendency of leaking alliances himself. So you tell him, maybe he tells other people. So that's something you should be worried about at least a little bit. But I don't know. I personally, if I was in their shoes, I think I would have said something to him, especially, you know, he has the power. He's going to be going after Tucker anyway. Might as well load him up with some more information, but you know.
Well, as they discuss how they don't want to tell Chelsea or Quinn yet, Brooklyn has already told Chelsea.
10 minutes.
So if they continue to not tell Chelsea or Quinn, who is likely to find out about this soon as well, this could cost them a little bit of social standing. We will see. But Brooklyn lets Chelsea know. So Chelsea now knows. For Quinn's part, he is basically the HOH already. And he fully intends to nominate Angela, Tucker, and Rubina. Those are his nominations. Those are the people that make the most sense to him. Makes some amount of sense. Rubina has made it clear that she's with Tucker. Angela is Angela, and Tucker is the target. If he makes those nominations, he doesn't have to piss off MJ or Leah. Which has been pretty much like the play for the last 3 weeks, is if we're not going after MJ or Leah, why piss them off by nominating one of them? So it seems like these are the 3 that he's kind of focused on for now. And you know, it kind of sucks for Rubina.
Yeah, I mean, Rubina kind of being a victim of circumstance, and that circumstance being her connection to Tucker. Which I have seen quite a bit of conversation about whether or not Rubina should be considered for this list, and if it should be someone else outright. I think ultimately, when you think about it, having her on the block does leave a little bit of a window open that Tucker may win the veto and use it on somebody else again, and this time Rubina. So I'm not mad at the consideration, especially when, you know, he has felt a little bit shaky with Rubina after the whole power gate. That she didn't quite feel trusting of him.
Yeah, which I still feel like was a bit of a mistake there from Rubina. Like, I don't think she should trust Quinn, but I also don't think that she should have had such an obvious distrust of him and have to have a conversation with him about it, where like they didn't really solve anything. It just let Quinn know that she doesn't trust him. And so like that's kind of worst of both worlds there. But T-Core does let Rubina know, like, hey, I think you being so close to Tucker is kind of hurting your game. And you know, in this particular spot, that is very, very much the case, because Rubina might go on the block because of it. So so that was the plan. That's the plan coming into this HOH competition, and the feeds finally do go down for it. And Pooya, let me tell you, because I know that a lot of people may feel differently, and maybe I will feel differently.
Okay.
But last night I said my worst case scenario was Angela winning the HOH, because I want Angela to be the HOH and not have it taken away. Like, I want an actual Angela HOH. If we waste one, on one where she's not actually the HOH and then wouldn't even get to compete in the following HOH. That to me is like, that's the only person I'm like, actually, like, I want to see Angela as the HOH. So luckily for me, no, it's not luckily for me. Angela won the HOH. But listen, I know a lot of people disagree. A lot of people are very excited about this.
I'll speak on the counter. I definitely understand your argument for it. I'll speak on the counterpoint here because Angela is a chaotic player. Angela with power is more chaos, so the chaos would definitely be there. But also on the other side of things, I can't think of a better house guest that I would like to see have a deep fake avatar of them putting up nominations and spreading mess. So in a weird way, it's perfect. Also, Angela can be a little bit delusional to the point where she might still think she can have some kind of a say and power. And I think that's fun as well. Angela on the feeds last night was 10 out of 10 experience for me. And while I do agree with you, the sad reality is we don't know when the next endurance HOH is. And if that ends up being next week, then I think Angela wouldn't have gotten that anyway. So it kind of works if she sits out. So I think there's positives here, Taran. I think you'll see the light in this.
There's certainly positives, because the positive is that we're getting Angela in conversations, at least for now. But the negatives are that it just feels wasted. It just feels like, imagine if we were getting these conversations and they actually mattered. Because she actually could nominate people and went on a power trip about it. I feel like that would be so much more fun. But listen, I get it. She's safe.
Mm-hmm.
She's having conversations. Angela's the HOH. This is how it's going to go.
Let me quickly make a PSA to those of you out there. If you or a loved one have access to Facebook, don't go there this week. It's a bad place. Don't go. They're going to be very mad. The Facebook casuals were already tearing up in arms that Angela couldn't be renominated with America's veto. They were not happy with that. They're going to be seething. And with all the talk they have of her being a production plant in the house, this ain't going to help that. Protect your peace. Avoid Facebook this week. That's just my PSA.
When are they going to turn around on Angela?
I don't know. Is there ever a chance? Because with all the stuff that's happened since week 1, that seems to be the thing they still go back to and remember.
I mean, because here's the thing. Angela is aligned with the people they like and against the people they hate.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, they're going to have to turn around on Angela, I think. I think it's going to happen.
I mean, if you love Tucker, and they do love Tucker, then you gotta, by proxy, love Angela. They are together.
Yeah, all it's going to take is one segment on the show, and it's perhaps the conversation last night between Angela and Tucker where they're saying they love each other and they're going to work with each other and they're going to take on the rest of the house. I'm telling you, the Facebookers, they're coming around on Angela.
I would like to see it. If I see that segment, I might have to dive back into that pool, even though I just told everyone not to do it, but we'll see.
They're beholden to the edit, Pooya. They are like sheep.
It was
production tells them who to like and who to dislike. If production tells them to like Angela, they will.
They'll eat it up. Make no mistake. They'll definitely eat it up. I did like because I did go sleuthing last night. I did like the clashing of opinions where they were happy that Kenny left because he didn't want to be there, but also they were mad that Quinn was still there because we put him up. Why didn't you get rid of him? I was like, pick a lane, y'all. Like, you can't have both. That's not going to work.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about Angela's HOH run. First of all, during Angela's HOH run, we must first talk about Quinn because Quinn is actually the HOH. And Quinn's new nominations, because Angela is now safe from nominations. His new plan is Tucker, Rubina, and he's just going to have to bite that bullet and put up MJ. That is the plan. Of course, in Quinn's mind, he still has this connection to Leah that he can use. I've been talking about this all week long, that because we knew that Quinn was going to be HOH, I've been bringing up Leah. Even though Quinn has not been bringing up Leah as an option for nomination, he's been talking about Angela, MJ, Rubina, Tucker. I've been talking about Leah as a possible nomination because of all the trash talk Leah has been doing about Quinn, all of the things that she's been saying, information that she's been revealing. He doesn't know about pretty much all of it yet. And so, certainly, given that he is the HOH, people will reveal this information to him, and then she will become eligible to potentially go on the block. I still believe this to be true, and we'll talk about a little bit more of it later. But for now, Quinn plans to nominate MJ, Rubina, and Tucker.
And I feel like this impending nomination has kind of given us the MJ slash Mackenzie of week one, which is very much worried, in tears, nervous, but also still not learning from the week one problem of, hey, don't talk smack about the HOH the week they are in power. I don't know why you're doing this. But Mackenzie definitely was all over the place last night with this impending nomination.
I mean, she's been living in the house for like 3 weeks, being like, I'm safe, no matter what. And this is the first time ever that she does not have that safety. And so she is definitely feeling that, especially given that, quite frankly, whether Quinn is the HOH or Angela is the HOH, she feels like she could easily go up on the block.
And
So,
has to face Tucker, most likely.
yes.
Is her other worry.
Yes. So that's what Quinn plans to do. Cedric has an idea as well. Cedric is going to volunteer because we love volunteering in this house. Cedric is going to volunteer for the block because if Quinn needs somebody to compete against Tucker, he is down to do it. And so he actually suggests this to Quinn. Quinn is kind of like, I don't know if I want to do that. Like, I feel like you just really stuck your neck out for me. It would feel really wrong to put you on the block. I don't know that I really want to do that, but he will certainly be thinking about it. And let me tell you, over time, and when you're starting to think about these options, there's definitely a possibility that Quinn comes back around to this idea and like, if he's actually down, like that's a spot I don't have to piss somebody off in, and he is hopefully going to be decently competitive with Tucker, like helps me take out Tucker. Like, it's a pretty attractive option. I'm not going to lie. If I'm Quinn, I'm really thinking about this.
Yeah, I mean, this is the culture that the house has culminated in the last 3 weeks is find a volunteer or someone will volunteer because they can help the HOH with taking the AI comp option away or whatever, which has not, only unless your Tucker hasn't really panned out. But what I think is interesting is that I do think he's going to end up having to take this offer because you look at the cash sheet next to us and he's pretty much working with every other person that he's not considering for nomination, and falsely thinking he's still good with Leah, which he's not. So for him, getting a volunteer is kind of the best case scenario if the veto is to be used.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the thing, right? Like, if you want to take down Tucker, you either have to stack the AI arena as much as possible so that he can't just crush it like he has the last 2 times, or you can stack the AI arena with somebody like Cedric, and then because I feel like probably best case scenario for Quinn for AI arena is if it's Cedric, Tucker, and Rubina in the AI arena. And then Tucker, if Tucker knows, if it's made clear to Tucker that if he wins that, he's sending Rubina home, he might not try that hard. I don't know. It's possible. Like, I feel like that's the key to take down Tucker is maybe you get him to use the veto on Rubina instead of himself, or maybe you get him to throw AI arena to Rubina or to somebody else to make sure that Rubina doesn't go instead of him. I feel like it's a possibility at the very least. But maybe you could see a world where it's MJ, Cedric, and Tucker in the AI arena also, and then just hope that they beat him. But Cedric being there is definitely a huge help in so many different ways, and so we'll see.
And I think the fascinating thing this week is that obviously Quinn has the full powers of the HOH, but Angela is still the HOH, meaning Angela's guaranteed a spot in the veto competition. Quinn is not. So it'll be Quinn's 3 nominees and Angela, who's not working with him. And see, listen, if Angela wins that veto, she's taking Tucker off the block. That's going to happen. So it's worth thinking.
Yeah, at that point, she's a fan favorite from the casuals.
Oh, that would be a very baller move. I'd be very here for it.
Yeah. So, Angela's gonna have some conversations as I mentioned. She talks to Tucker. She thanks him for using the veto to save him. She says that she wants him to stay. She is initially under the impression that there's a little bit of confusion about like, does she actually make nominations? Does she not make nominations? We know, at least from Quinn's perspective, that she will not be making any nominations at all. But there's this idea that she might make the nominations and then they are overturned. And so she's talking about like who should she nominate first. Honestly, it's a lot of nonsense that doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, like because that was the narrative Tucker was running with, was that to his understanding, Angela will nominate 3 people, then the deepfake HOH will replace the ones they want, which is why he was pushing for Angela to put up Quinn so that Quinn gets exposed because he's going to remove himself from the block. But I went back and checked the official ruling to make sure. Quinn is correct. He takes over the HOH completely, and I think this is how it's going to go. Angela's going to be like, welcome to the nomination ceremony, and then there's going to be some kind of siren or whatever, and the deepfake Angela will take over from there. Like, I don't think her nominations see the light of day.
Mm-hmm. So really the only thing that really matters in this conversation is that they're agreeing to work with each other and look out for each other between Angela and Tucker. Now, there was a little bit of drama because it's easy to forget because it hasn't come up in a while. But Angela does not forget. And she still knows that Brooklyn has it out for her because Brooklyn wants to be the only married mom. She knows that Brooklyn is like, there can only be one. Meanwhile, I don't think Brooklyn has thought about Angela in 3 weeks. But she, in the HOH competition, which was a knockout competition, apparently chose Brooklyn twice in a row.
Before others had even gotten it once for this knockout comp, yeah.
Very obviously just outright targeted Brooklyn. And Brooklyn is like, what was up with that, Angela? What's wrong with you? And Angela's like, well, it's nothing personal. I just wanted to win. And you looked like you were gonna win, so nothing personal. And they start talking a little more. Brooklyn is pretty like, because Angela's not actually the HOH, so Brooklyn's kind of like, yo, like, what? Like, people think this is weird. Why are you coming after me so hard out of nowhere? And Angela kind of flips it around. She's like, well, I just feel alone in this house. This is like high school, and I'm being shunned. And Brooklyn's like, well, I get that. Like, okay, there's no hard feelings. It's fine. I just really wanted to win. I miss my family. And they're both starting to get emotional, and they both start tearing up, and they have a big hug. And then Brooklyn leaves, and Angela's like,
unimpressed Angela was everything.
She was fake crying, and she continues to try to fake cry. She's like, she's really trying hard, and she's like, I'm sorry, guys, I can't get the tears. I can't make it happen.
Yeah, I have not seen aggressive blinks like that in a minute. She kept like, trying to get something going, and she was like, oh crap, I can't do it. It was so good.
Yeah, there was a challenge in Jet Lag, the most recent Jet Lag season, where they had to make themselves cry. I think that like the way it works is, I don't know if, I mean, listen, Angela's probably much more experienced than I am, but I feel like you keep your eyes open, not the blinking. You keep your eyes open, they get dried out, or not dried, but like the air like makes them
Mhm.
tear up.
Well, then I think you blink to like extract them in a weird way. Yeah, I don't.
Okay,
I thought
yeah.
about this. I was like, can you do that? Do you think you could fake cry?
Honestly, I don't think I've tried.
I've tried before, and it's not a fun exercise because for me, I'm like, all right, let me think of stuff that makes me sad, and then it'll make me sad, and I can't get the tears anyway, and I'm just sad. So sad without the tears, so it's pointless. So I wouldn't be capable of it at all.
Here's the thing. Anytime I think about me with tears in my eyes, it's when I'm doing like a staring contest. That's why I feel like keeping your
Mm.
eyes open, like they'll start just watering up.
I
Um,
I find that the watering up with like a staring contest, you don't get like the effect of them going down. It's not like I don't know
mhm.
what to call it. It's like the water is not heavy enough. I don't know. I'm not gonna practice. I'm not gonna try it later to be like, all right, don't blink. Let's see how long.
It needs the weight of the emotional baggage to fall down the
Yes.
face.
Yes, that's what carries it down. That's the anchor.
All right. Well, Quinn does talk to T-Core and Chemo about what he's thinking in terms of nominations. He lets them know that he's thinking that he will go MJ, Tucker, Rubina. Of course, they would prefer no Rubina. And so the obvious speculation here is, well, they have a lot of info on Leah. Are they going to maybe use the info that they have on Leah to maybe be like, what if you didn't do Rubina and instead you did Leah? Now, to be clear, I think if I'm Quinn and I hear that Leah is actually against me, that's not going to make me replace Rubina. That's going to make me replace MJ. But I might replace Rubina with Cedric. Or quite frankly, I might just replace MJ with Cedric. Because the thing is that like you just kind of have to put Rubina up on the block. If your target is Tucker, you just kind of have to have Rubina up there. It's very silly to not to target one half of a showman's and not the other half. So I think it's going to be kind of a tough sell to try to get Rubina to not go up on the block. But you know, there's definitely some arguments to make.
Yeah, I feel like there was definitely an expectation that they were going to hard push for Rubina to not be on there. They even talked about how they were going to approach it earlier. We saw T-Core talking to Rubina, kind of reassuring her a little bit in the early goings as well. But I think ultimately it would require them to put a lot of pushing in it. And I don't think you're going to want to do that push right now. I think, again, it's very clear as day that Tucker and Rubina are linked up in a way that if Tucker picks up a house guest choice, he picks Rubina. Rubina wins it, takes him down. Now neither can go up. I think this is a good way to guarantee at least one of them remain on there for AI, if not both. So I kind of understand the merit because I've seen a lot of people also talk about why give Tucker two chances at safety. I think the clear answer there is that if a house guest choice chip gets pulled up and he gets picked, or if his name just gets picked outright and he's not on the block and he wins it, now you're double screwed. So you can't really have that. But I'm very keen to see if they, because I think what they should do regardless, don't put her up over Rubina, but mention the things Leah has said and thinks, because this is his biggest blind spot still in the show, on the season, in my opinion, is not knowing how bad it is with Leah and still thinking there's something there that he can work with.
Quite frankly, they should have told him about Leah ages ago.
Yes.
Because for so many reasons, but you know, maybe even one of the biggest reasons is like if you know that Leah outed that he has a final two with Leah, like then what if he's telling Leah things about you? He knows a lot of things about you. So tell him that you can't trust. Okay, anyway. They bring Leah up. They're like, "Hey, can you trust Leah? Do you trust Leah?" And he's like, I mean, you know." And they're like, "She's kind of been saying a lot of things about you." What? What do you mean? And so they kind of like loosely bring this up that Leah might not be quite as Team Quinn as he thinks. But they do not go fully in depth about what's happening. And they kind of seem to back off And if anything, T-Core is kind of like, well, maybe you can use this time to like reconnect and get her to trust you again. And so they do not go all the way there in this conversation.
Yeah, I again, I think that's fine. I think just giving him a heads up of like trying to repair, especially them knowing full well that he's doing a whole one-on-one gambit today, is not a bad shout for them. Just to see, what he talks about with Leah, then they'll get that information later, most likely, and then they can fill in any gaps or basically overwrite anything Leah tells them if they want to at that point.
Mm-hmm. They do ask about the Pentagon, which, thank you. This alliance that's been running the game for 3 weeks, that they know about and have known about for 2 weeks, that they barely asked about. Like, what's going on with the Pentagon? Like, how you guys doing running the world up there? And he's perfectly willing to tell them these things. And he talks about how he feels about them in terms of like where they stand right now. He certainly feels better about Cedric after last week. But he used to think that Cam was the best player in the house. What a fool he looks like now, for that opinion. But now he thinks that it's Chelsea. That he sees Chelsea, moving around a lot. He's definitely a little wary of what Chelsea is doing. And this was kind of the theme of the night in terms of like we talked about Brooklyn and Chelsea being in the best position in the game. There is a little bit of there are some eyes on the two of them, but it does seem like Chelsea has a couple more eyes on her at the moment, at least in terms of people that aren't Angela.
Yeah, I think what helps Brooklyn is that Brooklyn's power or positioning is sold under the guise of there's a girls thing and Brooklyn's running it, but then there are multiple women in the house who are like, oh, well, if there is a girls thing, I'm not in it. Like Mackenzie would be
It's
saying.
not, yeah, it's not real. The girls thing isn't real. So if that's the main accusation, she's kind of clear.
Exactly. So no one's like putting any more, a lot of stock on that. Whereas with Chelsea, I feel like there's a lot more people noticing the subtlety to her game and how, we're all in the same spot, but everyone else has eyes on them but Chelsea, which then causes people to look at Chelsea, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and weirdly, it's Chelsea's connection to Cam that is one of the most like worried about things, and she like hates his guy. So there's some more stuff going on. Joseph is doing some things. Some things that I like. He goes to T-Core and Chemo and he talks about wanting to work with them. Like, hey, what about us? What about the three of us? Which is good. But he also does a thing that I this is a thing I don't think. I think people really think this is a good move, but I actually don't think it's a very good move. He talks to MJ and he's kind of like, hey, it might be you this week. And I think people think this is a good move because it's like, oh, hey, I'm going to go to the person on the outs. I'm going to get in with them. I'm sharing information with them. I'm acting like I'm on their side. I'm giving them a heads up. But I think it backfires more often than not because the reality is that, like, shooting the messenger is a thing. You're giving them bad news. They don't like bad news. Just from a very baseline perspective, like you are introducing bad news to them and they don't like what you're telling them. That's not a good place to be. You want to be telling them good things. That like if you tell somebody a good thing, they're more likely to like you because you're telling them the good thing. And then the second part is if they're thinking critically at all, they're like, well, why do you know? How do you know? Are you connected? Who are you connected to? You're connected to the power that you're now also telling me wants me up on the block. So it feels very sketchy. It's part of why Leah was so annoyed with Cam, who was like, hey, it might be you, but don't worry, I'm looking out for you. Like I just don't think it lands in the way that players often think it will. I think that if you want to be in this position, if you want to like go to MJ and forge a connection with her because she's on the outs and act like you're on her side, I think you go to her and you're like, hey, how are you feeling? Like, here's how I'm feeling. And then if she's like, I'm a little worried I could go up, you're like, oh man, I hope not. What can we do? You know, like, don't be like, hey, I have some info I'm gonna drop on you. Yeah, it's probably you. Like, I don't think that's the play.
Yeah, I feel like both Joseph and Quinn do this quite a bit where, and I think we talked about this, I want to say on the round table, sorry, the stock watch, where I feel like these are the kind of conversations I'm very okay to have with someone I'm completely transparent with and is my final two. Because it's like, if they're telling me, I really know they're rocking with me anyway. But I feel like when you do this with everybody, that's not good for you. Joseph will have conversations like this with Tucker. He'll have conversations like this with Quinn, with now Mackenzie, of like, I think it could be you. I think you're going up, but you know, don't worry, just do this. And I'm like, I don't know you like that, bro. Like, I don't think this is the thing you got to be doing. And I feel like for Joseph's game, I think he's been positioning himself into a better and better spot. That house of cards falls apart when people start noticing you doing things like this or talking to people. Already there's people calling out that him and Quinn are tighter than maybe others may have expected and that they've seen them together a bunch. That's a very tough spot to crawl out of if you're Joseph.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So some good, some bad from Joseph. Quinn does have a conversation with Angela. He talked about wanting to, because she misunderstands like how the power actually works. He was like, well, I might as well just get a sense of who she would put up on the block. But then he doesn't do a very good job of that. uh, and in fact, I think that Angela got more info out of him.
Oh, for sure. He stopped it, but she still got more.
Yeah. So it's just like how is he this, like, he's just such a weird player. He is so good socially. We cannot deny this.
No.
And and again, I've said this before, but like strategically, he knows what he should be doing, but he just cannot combine those two skills. And when he tries to, it just like I know how a thing actually works. I have all of the informational advantage here. I have all the power. I have all the information, and I'm gonna go and talk to Angela and get some info out of her, either through my power, my social game, or the fact that I know more about how the power actually works. Right there, it should be entire. This is entirely a one-sided conversation with Angela of all people, and Angela turns it around on him and is like, "Well, who would you not want me to put?"
Who are your hard no? Who's your hard no?
And he answers her. And he doesn't even give a fake answer.
And then she follows up with, okay, so who's your second and third hard nose? Listen, this is the kind of audacity I love. This is the kind of audacity I love because Angela has been told to lead the conversation, has been told by Quinn, I am 10,000% using the power. So I'm taking over. And she's still like, well, who would you put up? Who wouldn't you put up? Who do you not want me to put up? I also think another big mistake that Quinn makes here is that it's very clear Angela's under the belief that he wants to collaborate with her on this. And she took him talking to her as like, oh my God, I can't believe you're actually willing to do that. That's so nice. He didn't correct her. And I think that's only going to be bad for him. Now, she said she was going to sleep on it and give him her considerations today. So that'll be fun. But I do agree. I feel like Angela kind of leaves this conversation getting more information out of Quinn than Quinn did on her.
Yeah. Which is wild. It's just like what are we doing here? So I mean, that was really like a good chunk of the night in terms of like where things stand. Basically what Quinn said was that he wants to do like one-on-ones in the morning and before he locks things in. I think that there's a little bit more intent with Tikor and Chemo to tell him more about Leah moving forward. They certainly don't want Rubina on the block. So we could get more Leah being thrown under the bus stuff, whether it's from them or somebody else. I think we can anticipate that this 5 points alliance will likely spread a bit more as well. And we will also potentially see Cedric and whether he's going to continue to tell Quinn, like, hey, I'm definitely still willing. And if Quinn will think that over and realize that it really does make a lot of sense. Yeah, a lot of different potential options here in terms of where we go. I think one of the benefits of Angela winning this HOH is that probably the easiest nomination for Quinn to have made is now off the board. And that means that the week should hopefully be a bit more interesting in terms of who he does decide to nominate, except that Cedric is volunteering and making it way easier for him. But he might not want to do that. So we'll see.
We'll see. I'm intrigued. I think this is going to be fun. I think I want to preface I want to add to, you can go back to what you said earlier. Quinn is socially a very good player. Not a lot of players could have their power and everything be so exposed and then get on the block and survive it, / also have people that want to work with him moving forward. But I still think there are gaps in the way he plays this game. There are a lot of mistakes he makes in this game, which I'm interested to watch play out, and I think is fun to watch play out. Also, he's definitely going to ham it up this week. Last night he was talking about these one-on-ones. He's got a specific outfit ready for this that he's going to be putting together. Like, he definitely is going to play up for the episode, which I think could be interesting to watch play and see here. I'm very curious where he goes from here, because right now he has all the power. So everyone's going to be nice to his face as much as they can. I really think we're going to get a lot of answers where he is next week. Actually, next week he can still compete once he doesn't win the HOH. I'm curious to see how that goes for him. But I think that'll be fun. I think Angela delusionally thinking she's going to have any say this week is going to be fun. That could explode some. We do have now, I'm curious, between Joseph, Chemo, and T-Core, which one of them, if any, tell Quinn about the guppies? That'll be funny.
That's the final three that was pitched by Joseph.
Yeah. I don't mind the name the Guppies, you know. I think that's a fun one.
It's a little weird.
I mean, it doesn't have a number in it. That's nice.
Honestly, it's better than 5 points.
Yeah. Well, if it's 5 points with a Z, which I know they mention as an area, I assume the area also has the Z at the end.
I don't know. That's it. Would an area have a Z at the end?
I don't think it's like an official name. It might be like a community.
No, it does.
It does? There we go.
Originally known as Fun Factory, the building was named, it's a building.
Okay. Well, I prefer 5 points than Fun Factory. I don't like that name at all. That wouldn't be from welcome to the Fun Factory. No, thank you.
Yeah. Well, there you go. All right. Well, Pooya, anything else you want to bring up?
I have something I want to talk about that's a bit of an aside. Because this is a feeling I've had and I shared on the internet, but I feel like it's getting a little misconstrued. I feel like, so last night we saw Quinn's speech, and then last night again when he was doing a little bit of cam talk interview thing, Quinn does love his shout outs. He does love referencing stuff outside the house. And I personally find this trait to be a little irritating, but I do not hate Quinn. And I think I want to give another PSN, and then sorry, I'll get off the soapbox in a second. But y'all, we can all like players and dislike parts of their game, and you don't have to pick sides. This is not a choose your kid. This is not Smash Bros where you pick a character and now you can't pick or think of any other character ever. You can look at multiple people. Is allowed. Okay? Is allowed.
Is Smash Bros the right analogy there?
Probably not, man. It really isn't, because you can just then go pick someone else in the next game anyway.
Else the next round is fine.
Okay, you know what? I've never played this, but this isn't World of Warcraft, where once you make your character, that's your character, and then you can't really go back. I guess you can make multiple characters, but you know, I don't know. The analogy is all over the point. You get the main point without the analogy today. Listen, maybe I peaked with the buffet analogy last week. Maybe I don't have another one in the tank right now. But yeah.
Yeah, you know, unfortunately, I think this is a thing every season. It is what it is. People will always sort of, I think, default to tribalism, where it's like, hey, I've got the people I like, and if you are not fully on board with what I think about my people, then you must be in the other camp, and that's why you disagree with me. Because certainly there couldn't be any other reason that somebody would disagree with me other than that they're just a simp for a different person that is the enemy of my person, or whatever the case may be. And then also, like, just there's like I think general assumptions and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, I think that the people who actually listen to these podcasts understand that there are lots of different opinions from lots of different people and lots of nuance happening here. And it's the people who don't really listen to the podcast that feel other ways. And we are fortunate enough to have gotten big enough that there are a lot of people who don't listen to the podcast who still know about us because we're being talked about on live feeds and we're a topic of conversation in other places. And so it's kind of, I think, those people that have certain views or assumptions or whatever. And so unfortunately it is what it is, but it's that's
big freaking brother.
It really is. He's a fan that got on the show, is very happy, is trying to give out as many, make as many references to the past, to the ecosystem that has made him a fan of the show, which includes podcasts, which includes the internet, which includes Twitter, so I get it. I fully understand. But it is a trait that I don't enjoy personally. And I feel like sometimes you're focusing on that too much in your game, but it could just be him speaking the stuff while playing his game. I don't know.
Also, for what it's worth, like, this is the first season we've really had in a while that, this is not life and death that we've got going on here. This is not we're not talking about serious topics right now.
And that's a blessing, man.
We had a little
that is
taste
a blessing.
of serious topics, certainly. But for the most part here, we're talking about this person kind of annoys me over here, or this person kind of annoys me over here. Nobody is a deep, dark villain. Nobody needs to be this, this is all pretend war that we're doing here. And as long as we can all acknowledge this, then I think we'll all have a good time. I think we get so used to there being such serious things that it can feel like it's always super serious, but this season it's not that serious. Especially this season, it's not been that serious. So we will see about that. Speaking of not that serious,
you
want to check out our interview with Kenny?
I was gonna say, for me, there was only one villain on the season, and it was the one who wanted to leave, and he's gone. So I'm happy with where we are now, and we got everybody. So yeah, Taran, how was your interview with Kenny? You had a good time?
Listen, I said this on my stream, it is what it is. I'm not going to, I personally blame production more than I blame a person who wants to leave the show. I do think that just leave. And the fact is the production really tries to prevent them from just leaving. That said, it's still annoying. And so it was not my favorite situation to happen. I did get a chance to tell him about the Collective Alliance and the Pentagon, and so check it out yourself, form your own opinions.
Okay, will do.
Yeah. All right. That's what we have for you. Of course, I'll be back later today. You see it there on the graphic at 3 p.m. Eastern, the Big Brother Q&A. I will be with Rob. We'll be answering questions from the patrons. If you want to call in, you can become a patron, and then you can call in. And you can also listen to the slop when that happens, and stuff like that. So it's very fun. And it helps support the podcast. And so we very much appreciate all of the patrons. And then, of course, tomorrow morning, I'll be back 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 26 live feeds. Should be a day of things happening because it's, nomination day and there's 2 different HOHs, technically, kind of. So tune in for that. And then you can, of course, find me on Twitch. Check out the Getaway stuff. We had a very fun interview with the final 3 members of the Getaway. Or players for the Getaway. They're so much fun. So check all that stuff out. Check out our scripted coverage. And Pooya, what do you got going
on? I finished talking about Traders New Zealand with Shannon, which it's catapulted into my top 3 Traders seasons I've ever seen. So take that for what it's worth. It's really good. When the feeds are down, I'd ever recommend checking it out. It's only 12 episodes. 90 Day Fiance, we didn't end up recording a part 2 this week for the tell-all because I didn't like where they cliffhangered us. I feel like 2 and 3 should go together. So I'll be back next week talking about that with the one and only Brian Gregory Scally. So you can check that out when that drops. You can find me on Twitter at Pooya, and find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Pooya. I will be live tonight at 10 p.m. to talk about some stuff that we've seen on the feeds, talk about my week in general, answer some of your questions, have an overall good time. And we'll be back with Goose Goose Duck on Sunday at 5 p.m. for y'all to want to check it out. Check it out. Come through.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us here today. And I will see all of you next time.